So last week, Brie Player and I, who is filling in for Em on the Thursday episode, did a segment on Olivia Wilde, actress and director, being on the Call Her Daddy podcast and all the big reveals she did and like her story about Harry Styles and the whole Don't Worry Darling press tour and Jason Sudeikis breakups, all that sort of stuff, which we'll link in the show notes because I think it's a very good episode. And off the back of that, we got a lot of messages from spillers saying like, oh, but also have you seen the Vanity Fair expose? Have you seen the backlash against Alex Cooper? Have you seen the Call Her Daddy conversation? And to that I say yes, but that episode would have been 2 hours. And I think this has become a big enough kind of cultural conversation centered in pop culture to do with, you know, one of the biggest interview platforms for celebrities in the world that it deserved its own segment.
Yeah.
So if anyone's not across, over a week ago, Vanity Fair published an article, which we all knew was coming because there's been whispers about it for a long time. And then whispers stopped and page 6 is like, here's the journalist who's doing it. She's trying to take down Alex Cooper. A lot of people like, this is a planned hit piece. People like Kelty Knight, podcaster, had come out earlier and said they'd been involved in an expose piece. So like it was coming, and then it finally dropped. So it was called Daddy Issues: Trouble Behind the Scenes of Alex Cooper's Unwell Media. And it was written by the journalist Clara Mollett. So a lot to unpack in this. So basically, Clara spoke to over 40 individuals who either still work at the Unwell Network or who have left, who have worked there previously. So the Unwell Network, basically when Alex Cooper, and if anyone's not across Alex Cooper, which I guess it's fair if you're not, so she had the podcast Call Her Daddy with her co-host Sophia Franklin many years ago now, like 8 years ago. And it was picked up by Barstool Sports, which is like a media entertainment company based in New York, run by David Portnoy, who is going to come up later in this thing. He's like a big kind of media juggernaut. He's very famous. The Call Her Daddy podcast absolutely blew up. At the time, it was these two girls in their kind of mid-20s living in New York, finished college, like out on their own, having wild sex, sharing stories. They had like funny nicknames and like secret aliases for all the men they were hooking up with. And the podcast just became an absolute sensation, top of the charts, and then all of a sudden it just disappeared. And it was such a big scandal. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I can't even remember the last time we had a big media scandal like that, like a podcasting scandal. It was like, this doesn't feel as big as that did then.
Yeah.
When it came out that the two co-hosts, Sophia and Alex, were not speaking, that they were refusing to work together. Everyone's like, what's happening? Like all these big outlets picked up the story. Then Dave Portnoy, because he owned the podcast at the time, got on the mic and like did a tell-all from his point of view. And then there was this whole kind of sit down behind the scenes. And then Sophia was, depending on who you ask, walked away from the deal or was pushed out, depending on who. Everyone's got a different version of that. And then Alex Cooper came back on and she did a tell-all from her perspective of what had happened. And then she was the sole host of Call Her Daddy until she left and she got the IP and all of that. So then she owned the Call Her Daddy podcast and name. And then she went on to Spotify for like a millions of dollars deal. And now she has this kind of empire that's come off the back of it. So when she met Matt Kaplan, who was introduced on Call Her Daddy as like hot Zoom guy, she met him on Zoom and he was like going to produce something she was in. They fell in love. And when they got engaged, they merged their media companies. So they had Alex Cooper's Unwell Network and his Ace Entertainment production, and that all sits now under one company called Trending. So they basically merged their businesses. And what's come out from this, and they've since married, and they've also just announced recently that Alex is pregnant and expecting their first child. So yes, all that's come out. And then ever since then, it's been kind of known that Matt Kaplan, as we saw in the documentary, if anyone hasn't watched Call Her Alex, which is on Disney+, Matt Kaplan kind of runs the day-to-day of Call Her Daddy. But if, in her own words, like Alex Cooper's very involved in the business. So there we are, a wrap of...
good wrap.
And thank you. Just 10 years of history broken down into 2 minutes. Obviously, there's a lot of nuance and back and forth and different people's stories across that.
Yeah.
And so Alex Cooper had really positioned herself like... Call Her Daddy then became less of like a kind of scandalous tell-all podcast. Like it became less of a personal podcast and more of her interviewing.
Yeah.
Really
started with Miley Cyrus, right?
Yeah. Miley Cyrus was a fan of the podcast. She came on. They did a big tell-all interview. And since then, it's become a place where men go on it too, but particularly famous women come on and like share their big stories, look back at big moments. And it's also become a moment where, and this is why Alex Cooper has been like called an ambulance chaser, which kind of started blowing up this whole situation. If women in the public eye were having they were in the middle of a crisis, something bad would happen, they would go and call her daddy and share their side of the story as damage control. And so speaking of being an ambulance chaser, a Bravo blogger, I think it was, put up that statement about Alex Cooper, and then Alex Earl, a very well-known influencer who had previously been friends with Alex Cooper, and they had gone into business together. And Alex Earl had left Alex Cooper's company, and then she shared that. It blew up into this fight between the two Alexes, but that ricocheted this conversation about Alex Cooper being a mean girl, hence the Vanity Fair article. And here we are.
Well done.
So, yeah, reading through this, there's a lot to take in. What were your thoughts?
I mean, it starts very strong.
Yeah.
The opening line about Alex Cooper getting up at a big town hall for her work, being we don't have mean girls here. And then the sort of intro paragraphs basically suggesting that was about Alex Earl.
Yeah.
And that's why Alex Earl had been ousted. But then slowly in this first introductory part of the story, you start hearing from employees, allegedly, according to the journalist, who were like, we didn't really get what that meant. And it sets the tone for this whole piece that I thought was very well written and interesting, how much they gave away about hearing from lawyers and how they'd structured this piece and how they'd gone about interviewing everybody. It was really juicy.
The journalist Clara had to kind of really show her work, in a way. And you've got to think if this is what got legaled and this has made it through, then I can just imagine what had to be left on the cutting room floor. Because when you put something like this, you have to be able to, the source can speak anonymously to you, but you have to have enough information on the record to again essentially prove your case. So she talks about this town hall meeting the company had where Alex Cooper was just we don't have mean girls here, and the company was kind of that's kind of all we have here at the moment, and you're one of them. It's also kind of interesting because it's obviously a Gen Z focused company. So the journalist writes that it's a lot of young women who grew up over the last 10 years, loving Call Her Daddy, loving Alex Cooper, wanting to be part of what she was making, wanting to be part of her business.
And then it was a first job for a lot of them,
exactly.
Right?
And it's just the whole office is just all these young women, which is something Alex Cooper has said before. She's it's all young women and Matt, her husband, who works there. It's also interesting that the journalist says when she started reaching out to past and present employees to get information for the story and ask them for their perspective and experiences, a lot of them came back very uneasy because they thought potentially that she was a plant sent by Alex Cooper and Matt Kaplan to see who would talk about the company.
Yeah.
So she had to prove to them that who she was, that she was writing for Vanity Fair, that she was separate to them. And it's not much more is insinuated in the piece, but it's kind of interesting because it's what is that workplace like if that's what you're thinking?
Yeah.
If a journalist reached out to you, is this the bosses of my company secretly trying to trick me to find out if I would say anything? That's crazy.
That's absolutely bonkers. And then I think in that same section, she's and some of the ones she reached out to encouraged her to change her passwords to things and really protect herself. And I was what you said, she really showed her work in the kinds of things that were said to her by people and how many people she spoke to. She was spoke to more than 40 sources, at least 30 of whom are currently or former unwell employees, most of them in their 20s, all that jazz. I think I love a Vanity Fair piece that goes into it. One of my favorites is pretty dark to say favorites, it's just really well done, was the profile on Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's fight over their chateau.
Yeah.
That's they spoke to gardeners, they spoke to staff at the house, they spoke to people who'd been involved with the airplane incident. I think a Vanity Fair piece of this nature really goes into it, and that's what they've done.
It kind of feels like back in the golden age of journalism where Vanity Fair would give a writer 6 months and a $30,000
that's what it feels
spending allowance to go and chase a story like this, and this is done over email and stuff, but it's still really hits.
It feels like it took a long time and was definitely chased, like you said, because then throughout it we're talking about this journalist receiving emails, receiving notes from legal, receiving updates from Cooper's team.
There's a lot in there. Some of the accusations are, most of them to be honest, are about Matt Kaplan, which is really interesting, and who's sort of running the day-to-day operations, but they said he has a tendency, these are the allegations in the piece, that he has a tendency to scream at staff, publicly berate them, call them a lot of really ugly words, make people cry. So there's all those accusations which have come out before as well, but this was just kind of more in depth, more people giving different varied stories about it. And then in the piece it said that Alex Cooper would often be in the room just staying next to him, watching him berate these young women. But also there are allegations allegations in there from people who worked at Unwell who say that Matt was like kind of a bit inappropriate with them, that he would be overly familiar with a lot of the young girls, that he would maybe, I think one of them said linger too long was an accusation. Another one said he would come in and ask them who they had sex with on the weekend, and that they got really uncomfortable. And this is the only time we get like official correspondence from Matt and Alex's like team. So they received a letter from the attorney representing Alex Cooper and Matt Kaplan. It's Brian Friedman, who,
Justin Baldoni's rep, also the person who represented Kevin Spacey during the Me Too movement.
Yeah, so
very interesting clientele. Many more, has been a huge Hollywood lawyer.
But I think, just because he's like all those statements you saw like about Blake Lively and about It Ends With Us and stuff, they are all like from him, from Brian Friedman. Now
representing
he's
Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly in the US.
That's what he does. So this letter came from him to Vanity Fair, and this is in the article. It included this note. If the story so much as suggests any sexual impropriety on Matt Kaplan's part, I will make it my life's mission to ensure Vanity Fair's days are numbered.
I'm just scared to say anything. Our days could be numbered.
I mean,
very
again,
intense,
interesting that, because again, they've reached out to, like with a story like this, you have to reach out to the people involved, Alex Cooper and Matt Kaplan, to get their response. And they haven't gone through and responded to like the accusations or anything like that. But they did send that through their lawyer, which is printed in the story. So it's kind of all, come to a head in that way. I would say reading it like, as someone who's really followed their careers, as someone who's like watched the documentary, listens to Call Her Daddy. I mean, I'm not saying that I know what happens because I haven't been there, but I've read a lot of accounts from media people and podcasters who have worked with them, who have put their names to things in the past. And so there weren't any big surprises in there for me. And obviously that Bloomberg report had come out prior, which also chronicled all these same issues in there about like mostly Matt Kaplan, how he treats staff, all that sort of stuff. So there weren't surprises, but there is something I think very damning and huge about having this all down in verified form in a publication like Vanity Fair. When your whole brand is built on you essentially, I mean, I hate the word girls girl, but when it's used in like
what
a
she's built
damning
herself
thing.
on.
It's very much like women empowerment, all that sort of stuff, to have this out there.
I think to build your entire identity on being a girls girl, to have whole company meetings where you're like, we fired this person because they weren't a girls girl, like for that to be your entire identity, then to have a predominantly female staff speak out against you in source quotes. And not put their names to it, obviously, but allegedly sources who are currently working with her to all be saying the same thing. It's a pretty big deal.
It's interesting because I'm so interested in like what Alex and Matt, like how they're going to sort of work around this. And a lot of people have said Call Her Daddy's over because of this and Alex Cooper's over because of this. And I don't think that that's true.
I don't think it's true at all.
I don't think this piece is like, it has swayed the diehard fans.
We'll say like the Hollywood Reporter piece on the Bloomberg stuff was in April. And like, I don't think she's taken a hit since then, has she?
I actually think Alex Cooper's back and forth with Alex Earl did a lot more damage to her reputation than this long form piece of like verified journalism in the Vanity Fair magazine, printed magazine. Which is, I guess, kind of goes to speak of like where the two Alexes, like where they live in internet culture and like where their fan bases are. And I'm sure a lot of people watch TikTok videos on the Vanity Fair piece. I'd be surprised how many of them actually read the full thing. But
you're right, because that really blew up again with the girls stuff, because it was like, you've taken a hit at her publicly, because when Alex, liked that video, then Alex, I'm going to say full names. I did see Vanity Fair call them Licks and Lex. And I was like, oh, that's actually a good way to distinguish, because the I and the E. But when Alex Earl liked that video and then Alex Cooper posted her video being like, oh, something you want to say, something you want to tell everyone, like it came across again, you're not being a girl's girl, you're not supporting girls. And I mean, God forbid, that's the biggest crime a girl could commit.
I mean, look, it is one of the worst things you could say to another girl is like, you're not a girl's girl. But it's also being weaponized.
It's being massively weaponized.
Anytime anyone says anything about like another woman, it kind of gets. But also like that so much is the identity and the DNA of Call Her Daddy and that company, and Alex is like the public face of it. So it will be kind of interesting to see like how the brand goes along. I don't think it's going to stop people listening to her podcast, but it might potentially affect like different appearances she does, different offshoots. I know that her company produces a lot of things. There's been a lot of pushback with that of like her reality show not being watched, like the numbers being really poor, and then another reality show being dropped on YouTube instead of, I think, on Hulu where it was supposed to. So I think there's a lot of stuff bubbling behind the scenes, but I think that's to do more with ratings than anyone being like, oh, Alex Cooper produced this show, I'm not going to watch it.
Well, interestingly, the kind of timing coincided with Netflix announcing that she is producing the book-to-screen adaptation of Icebreakers.
Yeah.
So Netflix saw like heated rivalry and off campus and were like, let's also do an ice show. And Icebreakers is a huge book on BookTok.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
It's not for you.
I don't like that book at all.
That's where you draw the line with the sexy hockey romances?
I did not finish that book. I threw that book against a wall.
Okay, sure.
And it's not to say hate to anyone who likes it. Congrats to you. Happy for you. I love when someone loves something.
Yeah.
Hate it with my full chest.
Yeah, but I think Alex Cooper's on the money with people will want to watch that.
People will. It's going to have a huge fan base. I'm certain of that. It's a really big book on BookTok. People love it. So she's getting in as a producer on a huge Netflix series.
Yeah.
That's going to be a hit. I don't think her reputation is going to suffer to any huge extent as a result of this piece unless something more damning comes from it, even though it's damning, even though it's in depth. I do think like she's making moves to still be successful in other ways.
Well, something more damning actually is coming, and that is Sophia Franklin's tell-all book.
That I want.
About, I'm going to be like, hook that to my veins when I get it.
Can I be terribly honest with you? I don't even care about Call Her Daddy, and I care about that book.
Well, I mean, it's just this big pivotal, like,
it was a big moment in culture.
So Sophia did her own, when she left, she started her own podcast, Sophia with an F, because her name's spelled with an F. Her own podcast, and she did one episode where she did a bit of like her side of the story to Alex. But since then she's talked about it a bit, but she doesn't like make it her whole personality or anything like that. But she has written her own memoir that's coming out soon. That is her whole side of the story about Alex Cooper, about Call Her Daddy, about what really happened. And people are so primed for that because she's, even more so than Alex Earl, she's the only one who can really like take a hit at Alex Cooper because their brands were built together and they had that epic fallout, and Sophia was the villain, but as like Alex's star has risen, and you know when your star gets bigger, no matter if you're good or bad, like people start to turn against you. As Alex Cooper's star got bigger, people started circling back to Sophia Franklin and saying like, well, Sophia was right, justice for her. So what's interesting is Sophia's book is coming out, and Dave Portnoy, here we go. Oh my God, that man. It's crazy to me that I even know that man exists. I shouldn't. He runs he runs a media company in New York that has a lot of big.
Honestly, it's a conglomerate. Like, it's huge.
Well, he's got a lot of big podcasts, like Chicks in the Office and stuff is from there. Viral videos, all that sort of stuff. But he like sort of made himself a central figure. He's got a book coming out, his memoir.
Wow.
And recently he read a section from his memoir about Sophia, and it was accusing her in his memoir of like assaulting a staff member.
Jesus.
The same time when Alex, like physically assaulting when she was drunk, like she wouldn't get in a cab or something like that. And he's also talking about that was just when Alex Cooper came in tears to him. He's like, I can't work with Sophia. She's so unprofessional. And he's like, Alex is in tears. And I convinced her like the show's blowing up, keep going. But he's like, we all knew Sophia was a liar and stuff. So I'm like, oh, so because he's always been team Alex Cooper.
Yeah. And they're still really close despite her leaving Barstool and branching out on
they
her
have
own.
stayed really close. And to be honest about Dave Portnoy, I just also think that he hooked his wagon to the biggest star.
Yeah.
Like he knew that Alex Cooper was going to go on to be the really big star, and that it was better for him to be on the right side with her, to be on Sophia, who like went back home to like whatever state she lived in with her mum and like moved back in with her.
Yeah.
And is successful now, but like it did not look good for her at the time.
It didn't look good at the time.
And so so Dave's read that section from his memoir, which is very much team Alex Cooper. So all this is going to come out. So like it's just like
juicy and also concerning. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot. So I think that's almost going to be a bigger storm for Alex Cooper to weather, more so than this situation.
And I think she probably learned a bit from the Alex Earl situation as well. I think she underestimated Alex Earl's fandom in that moment in time is what I saw a lot of. Like, because there was a lot of backlash to the way she addressed that whole situation. And a lot of people I saw, like creators on Alex Earl's side, which I don't necessarily think Alex Cooper expected.
Yeah.
And I always I never really cared for Call Her Daddy, but I was impressed by how she'd transitioned. Like, as in she had Michelle Obama on that podcast.
Yeah.
She had Kamala Harris on there when Kamala was running for president Like that's that's what podcast the potential president chose to go on.
Yeah, she's very powerful, Alex Cooper.
Really built a name for
something
herself.
really, really, really impressive.
Yeah.
And for a while, she did have kind of almost universal love. So I can kind of understand. But that's the thing. You go up high, you get pulled back down.
You do.
Whether what's happened or not is true, I can't say I wasn't there. But it was kind of always going to happen. But it's happened in spectacular fashion.
Yeah. So. And not speaking out and only releasing one legal statement back to one specific section of an article kind of.
Well, that's been her and Matt Kaplan's sort of plan of attack for quite a while. Is like because there were sources came out, they were breaking up, they were getting divorced, and then they announced off the back of that we're actually pregnant.
Yeah, they're having a baby.
And then these stories have come out about Matt before. They've just always ignored them, moved on. Alex is just like, but like, look at my ice hockey TV series. Look at my new interview that's coming out. Look, Olivia Wilde's on here telling me how much she loves my podcast. Like, it's not a bad plan.
Yeah.
Like, she's not.
It's probably going to be a pretty successful plan.
It is, because she just keeps putting out content and is hoping these headlines will pass by. For a lot of people, they will. So we'll keep you posted when Sophia's book comes out, because I am dying to read that.
Yep.
Honestly,
even I am.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we'll be covering that on the spill for sure. I guess maybe I'll have to read Dave Portnoy's book. Don't know if I want to do that. I might just
out of
read
intrigue.
I'm not overly invested in like his life. I might just read the bits about Call Her Daddy so that I'm.
The only part of his life I'm invested in is how like he's just so random, but then he's this really big Swiftie and how Taylor Swift
sent him a note.
But he rides so hard that he hates Kim Kardashian as well on behalf of Taylor Swift, who he does not know. Like,
he just hooks his wag into the biggest star.
He does.
He was team Taylor Swift very publicly, and then she wrote him a handwritten note at a concert because he knows how to get in with the most powerful person.
He does.
And we will link the Vanity Fair article in the show notes for you to read.